The title is Integrate Your Mind, Originate Change. Yeah, I just want to explore in a way the significance actually of mindfulness. All too easily, mindfulness can sound like a sort of concentration technique. I think whilst it can help with that, that's one of the fruits of mindfulness, sort of increased concentration. There's much more to it than that. In a way, there's much more to concentration than mere technique. So yeah, that's what I want to explore. I want to explore the significance and, in a way, the potency actually of mindfulness for originating change. So it's interesting change, isn't it? Because in a way, everything's changing all the time. But it's not quite what we mean often. We mean we want to have some agency over which direction things change. We want to kind of change things for the better. Yeah, I guess what came to mind thinking about this is that actually a lot of our action is actually sort of determined from outside. You know, we sort of we don't really fully act in a lot of ways. It's more like a button has been pressed from outside, and we sort of react a bit like the sort of the slot in the penny, the kind of machine starts working when the penny goes in, sort of thing. All too easily, that can be the nature of our activity. It can be sort of habitual. It can be rather automatic. It's more reaction than actual action. It's not really sort of coming from us. And in a lot of ways, a lot of the time, that can go okay. You know, if we're in fairly positive circumstances, the reactivity that happens, you know, can be the reaction between someone being kind of kind and decent, and then you respond in kind. You sort of react. There's nothing particularly wrong with that, but actually that's what can be a lot of what goes on in life. We don't really realise that we're sort of actually in our nicer moments sort of determined from outside. It's only when something that is unpleasant happens, somebody speaks to you in a sort of rather sharp way, that you kind of you see how automatic the mode is that you're in. This is more the mode of the world, really. Actually, it's the mode that the world sort of works in. Largely, the world is sort of determined from outside. It's a sort of domino effect. You know how it happens. You have a bad day at work. You come home. You blame your partner. Your partner is unhappy, so kicks the cat, sort of thing. It's this sort of domino effect. It's rather chilling, rather sobering to see this. But it is actually the sort of default mode of the world. But contrasting with that, we don't have to act like that. We don't have to react. When someone does speak to us sharply, we know that we can actually sort of take a breath. We do actually have a choice with how we respond. So we are actually able to sort of take possession of this distinctively human capacity to responsiveness. We're able to do that. Largely, it seems the animal world is sort of locked in this sort of instinctual, sort of reactive, despite its sort of beauty and brilliance at an instinctive level. It doesn't have the possibility of choosing how to act. It's what contributes to their sort of fluidity. But there's something distinctively human about this kind of, about really taking possession of our responsiveness. And actually, this is what we're really getting at. It's a sort of key quality of mindfulness, that we can actually do this. It's really a key human quality, isn't it? It's a sort of hallmark human quality. When you think of great human beings, someone like Nelson Mandela, as Arthasiddhi mentioned recently, his capacity not to be defined by his circumstances, not to sort of knee-jerk react, but actually be able to sort of rise above that, to be able to sort of choose how he's acted. And what's really fascinating about this is on an ordinary day-to-day level, it seems like we can get away with just reacting. It seems like it's inconsequential all too frequently. But when you see someone who's developed that quality to such an extent, you see that they are in a position to originate change. And what change Nelson Mandela actually originated? Quite extraordinary change that came from one person fully taking possession of this human capacity for responsiveness. He could really respond. So what is this responsiveness? Well, essentially it is based in reflexive self-consciousness. It's based in self-awareness. It is aware. So that's what makes the distinction between reacting and responding. If we are actually aware of how circumstances are sort of affecting us, aware of our knee-jerk responses, then we don't have to be defined by them. If we're not aware of them, they will just lead us to act. So this responsiveness is based in awareness. But let's not minimize awareness to self-awareness. Self-awareness is crucial, but actually, also in responsiveness is awareness of other people. In a word, love. And without love, there is no awareness of other people. When we're in a state of hatred, we've got a very, very clear, penetrating sort of take on someone, but it's narrow. It doesn't see the whole person. It can't appreciate the richness, the complexity of the whole person. It just sort of narrows down. And we're often reluctant to admit that actually that person has good qualities. There's more to them than this sort of narrow. So love, in a word, is the awareness of another. So that is what defines this responsiveness. If actually we can be self-aware, aware of how circumstances are affecting us, how people are affecting us, then we actually have the possibility to respond. But it's only if we're aware of other people that responsiveness can be helpful. That responsiveness can originate change. Yeah. So if we're not self-aware, the way we act in the world is as we've always acted. It's just determined from outside. So that action is not going to change anything. It's just a response in kind. Aggression is responded to with aggression. Niceness responded to with niceness. It doesn't actually originate any change. So this is what we're starting to cultivate, actually, with mindfulness. And it leads naturally on to the metta, to positive emotion. It gives us the possibility to actually consider what sort of a world do I want to contribute to. So I think there's all sorts of ways actually in which we kind of maintain this, or we sort of we give away this distinctively human capacity to kind of choose how we respond. Prapuncha, we've been talking about prapuncha, this oh so familiar tendency of kind of repetitive thoughts, sort of unconscious or automatic kind of thinking, which can seem so inconsequential, is often sort of really merely regurgitated thinking, things that we picked up from our childhood, things that we picked up through the news, views that sort of underlie the sort of news articles and news items that we're reading. In that way, we're just sort of determined. It's only if we can really develop this sort of self-awareness, come back to ourselves, that we can really actually decide what we think. So in so many ways, without sort of developing our awareness, we'll just be determined from outside. We'll just do what our childhood conditioning sort of led us to do in our life. That might be quite good, quite straightforward, but it doesn't allow us to take full possession of our human capacity to responsiveness. So that's really what that's a sort of key element of this awareness. I said Subhuti. Arthasiddhi talked about this as conscience, that lovely, beautiful word, conscience. But I won't say more about that. But it's sort of it's part of the this quality of responsiveness. Yeah, what I want to say is what really protects and allows this quality to come into being is this attitude of responsibility. If we can really take responsibility for what's going on in our minds, that is what guards this capacity. That is what protects it, what allows it to flourish. So in the mindfulness of breathing, we want to go into the mindfulness of breathing with that kind of attitude awakened, alive. The other aspect I want to mention is the body again. Now, it's this aspect that it's not always easy actually to know what is going on with us. It's not always easy to know what our responses are. Yesterday, someone was sort of saying to me about something I said to someone else. So I think that came across like this, and that was quite helpful actually. But it left me thinking, gosh, what was I intending when I said that? What was going on with me? It's not always easy to sort of know, is it? And this is where the body comes in. Because prapancha, if we try and sort of think our way through, often it sort of clouds what's really going on with us. It clouds our ability to get clear about what actually is going on with us. The body, on the other hand, gives much more honest testimony to what is going on with us. The body, it's not so articulate. You have to sort of stay with it. You have to listen to it, but it's much more honest. It gives much more honest testimony to our experience. It bears witness in a much more honest kind of way. So what I suggest we do is kind of really tune up to this, the significance actually of kind of of cultivating awareness. Another way of putting it is sort of gathering. Often our sort of mental energies are dissipated. There was part of me that kind of wanted to, in this example, kind of be helpful. There was part of me that was thinking, gosh, did I do something wrong there? Those two sort of impulses, part of me sort of wanted to get clear about what was it that was sort of motivating me. Those two impulses just sort of cross over. They dissipate the energy. If I can actually sort of become aware of what are the impulses and take responsibility, then I can start to choose. In this phrase that we can choose how we respond, it never quite feels weighty enough, that word choice, because actually more what we need to do is integrate our minds. It's when our minds are integrated that we suddenly have the capacity, we start to have the capacity to direct our minds. Wholeheartedness, that wholeness that comes through integrating our minds is not under the persuasion. There's so much of us not under the persuasion of our intellect. It's not a decision. It can't ultimately be a choice. It's more like we need to develop integration, integrate our minds. Out of that, then we can start to choose, as it were, we can start to direct our minds in a more positive way, take ownership of this distinctive human capacity to responsiveness. So in the mindfulness of breathing, what we're simply going to do is we're going to really come into the body. So really come into the body, particularly if there's prapancha going on. If you've got stray thoughts, great, that is really, really good moment. They're sort of the effervescence. They've often got a subtle sort of victim narrative, trying to get you off the hook, get you out of taking responsibility. Come into the body and explore what is going on. What is actually driving the thinking? Yeah, really, really good opportunity if you have got prapancha going on. So come into the body and explore what's going on. And we're going to try and intensify our awareness of the body by really attending to noticing what in the body, what sensation in the body is pleasant and what is unpleasant. Really sort of tune our awareness up and move towards the unpleasant, as well as being aware of the pleasant. So that's what we'll do. Was there one more thing? Let me just check my book. Oh yeah. So so let's really kind of tune up to the significance of what we're doing, the significance of cultivating integration, significance of starting to develop this distinctively human capacity to respond. Really, really significant. And let's just drop that kind of whole achievement mode. We're not just trying to get focused in a narrow sense. Just drop that. See if you can kind of drop out of that sort of narrow, in a way, heavy-handed. Let's see if we can lighten it. If our mind is all over the place, great, brilliant. Let's become aware of that. Let's really choose to become aware of that and come into the body and discover why that is, discover what's sort of driving that. And in order to do this, we need a sense of lightness. We need a sense of humor. It might be at the end of the meditation, all you discover is there's part of you that really doesn't want to meditate. You're sitting there trying to meditate. Part of you is not interested. Well, that is great. You may feel like you've made no progress, but actually just being able to sit with that with a sense of humor can allow you to start to bring it into awareness, allow you to start to integrate that aspect of you. And then over time, you'll be able to interest it in meditation. You'll be able to understand it, understand what it's actually interested in, and then bring it on board. So waking up to the sort of significance, saying alive to the significance, coming into the body underneath the prapancha, and having a sense of lightness and humor. So if you want to get into your meditation posture, so we're going to be doing the mindfulness of breathing. We do the mindfulness of breathing because the breath is in the body. And the body is how we cultivate, how we gather, how we integrate the disparate energies of the mind. So when you're ready, closing your eyes. And watch out for any sort of knee-jerk tendency to start doing anything. Just see if you can sort of tune up to the significance of this moment of awareness, significance of this human capacity to be aware of being aware. reflexive self-consciousness. And that's going to be our touchstone. That's what we're going to be doing. Seeing if we can garner or gather this awareness. Don't worry how distracted you get, that small-minded achievement, just sort of relaxing that. Let's see if we can become more aware of our minds. So feeling the sensations, physical sensations of your experience. Just see what sensations are kind of presenting themselves, which are the most vivid right now to your awareness. Is it the face? Is it sensations in the face or in the body? Is it the contact with the ground? Where is sensation most vivid right now? And this simple experience of attending to our direct experience in a relaxed kind of way is all we're doing. So as we're doing this, you're probably already aware of the tenor of your thoughts, whether a torrent of thoughts running through your head or your thoughts are calmed. Seeing if you can be aware of that without pushing it away, wanting it to be different. This non-reactive awareness. And are you aware of what sort of mood is predominating at the moment? So feeling your mood in your body. The general state of heaviness or lightness, heaviness or buoyancy, closeness or openness. Just becoming aware of it as it is, without pushing it away or wanting it to be different. Just breathing with it. And as we breathe with our experience, feeling the sensations of the body in contact with the ground, and feeling the weight of the body just pouring down into the ground. Feeling the sensations in the feet. Just seeing if you can steep those sensations in your attention with attention. And then steeping the sensations of the calves with attention. And the knees. And the fronts of the thighs. Steeping those sensations with attention, the backs of the thighs. And your bottom on the cushion. Steeping the sensations with attention. Now the sensations of the lower back and the belly, the core muscles around the spine. Feeling the gentle massaging of the breath in the lower body, or the lower torso. Can you feel the movement of the breath in the middle of the back? So noticing how the breathing, we only know the breathing through the body. Sometimes you can hear it, but apart from that. So acquainting ourselves with the breath in the body, by acquainting ourselves with the body. Can you feel the movements of the breathing in the upper back and shoulders? Can you feel the movements of breathing in the arms? And now in the front of the torso, the belly, and the chest. So letting the head be relaxed and effortlessly poised on top of the torso. Face soft and neutral, no need to hold a face anymore. Here you can just be yourself. And if and when you get thoughts coming, that's fine. Not pushing them away. It's really good that we're aware that that's happening. And see if you can come into the body, so become aware of what's happening in the body underneath the thoughts that might be driving the thoughts. So now we're just going to keep our attention in the sensations of breathing. So our attention's in the body. Feeling the movements of breathing. So just see if you can keep your awareness anchored in the sensations of breathing, anchored in the body. Not trying to achieve anything. We're just being aware of the sensations of breathing. And in so doing, becoming aware of the mind, its tendency to wander off. Let's not force the mind to concentrate on the breathing. Keeping your mind light, keeping it light. So we just do a two-stage mindfulness. Seeing if you can stay with the sensations of the body all the way through the in-breath and the out-breath, counting 1. Keeping a sense of humour, doesn't matter if it doesn't go where you want, it's about becoming aware. Just seeing if you can stay with physical sensations of breathing. And if you stay with the sensations of breathing, start to become more aware of pleasant and unpleasant sensations in the body, which should be related to moods, volitions in the mind, impulses in the mind, responses in the mind. Just seeing if we can cultivate this non-reactive awareness to learn more about what's going on with us, learn from the testimony of the body. So just as we move into the second stage, taking note of if you've learned anything from the testimony of the body about what's going on. Keeping a sense of humour, sense of lightness. And a sense of the significance of taking responsibility for your mind. You can only take responsibility for that which we're aware of. And then moving forward in the second stage, using the counting if that's what's helping you stay with the physical sensations of the body, or choosing to drop the counting if that's more helpful. And noticing how the body is. If you're tensing your hands, perhaps you're trying to achieve something. Just relaxing, keeping a sense of lightness, sense of humour. Or if you're falling asleep, finding a bit more engagement. And then as we come towards the end of the practice, dropping any effort that you're making and just sitting, experiencing the mind embodied, the body mindful. Sitting absolutely still. to honour this important part of the practice, where we just sit. And in your own time, adjusting out of the practice, opening your eyes, and any questions you can put in the chat box when you're ready. Right, so seeing if you can extend your mindfulness of the body and with that mindfulness of all your experience into this next stage. So if you've got any questions coming out of that or comments about how you experienced the meditation, then please do put them in the chat box and we can explore this all a bit further.
Thanks for that, Arthasiddhi.
Hello, Risaki.
Yeah, it was. I always seem to have a good meditation when you're leading meditation. There was something that really struck me about something you said about how we only really know the breath through the body, through how it impacts on the body.
Mm.
And that really, it was somehow surprising. It makes total sense. But actually, I think of the breath as a thing, as somehow a thing that I possess. And it's very, so when you said that, and I thought, of course, yes. And then it awakens my curiosity about how I relate to the breath. And that's something that I really enjoy in the mindfulness of breathing, is kind of becoming curious like that. About this,
thanks for that, Vidyasaki. I can very much relate to that. Sometimes just that tiny bit of curiosity and interest is enough to involve the mind in the mindfulness of breathing. I think particularly when we're starting to do the mindfulness of breathing, we sort of grab hold of the mind and sort of force it to concentrate on the breath. It will never quite integrate us. We will manage to concentrate on the breath, but it's sort of, it requires such effort to do that, that it pushes other parts of what's going on in our experience sort of out of awareness, and they will sort of compete to sort of come back into awareness. Things will sort of pop up to try and derail our efforts, which in a way is kind of a good thing, because it's sort of exposing that our sort of willing the mind to focus on the breathing is not going to work. It's not actually going to integrate our different energies, basically. You're kind of pushing from the top, but there's other things wanting to go in different directions, and they're not going to integrate if we use that approach. So yeah, just a little bit of curiosity and interest gives us a lighter, more malleable awareness, such that we can become aware of differing, sort of competing interests in our minds. It's only if we can do that we can start to integrate those disparate energies of the mind. Yeah.
A comment from Bill.
Oh yeah, hi there, Bill.
I like the idea of including humour, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah. It's really, really important that. Yeah. It's crazy because, as I was saying, meditation is really, really significant, actually. It will change your life if you engage with it as fully as we do at the Buddha Center, and invite you to do at the Buddha Center. It will change your life. So it's like, it's life and death. It's really serious. But actually, you don't, if you take it sort of serious in a sort of narrow kind of furrowed brow kind of way, you never get anywhere with it. So you need to be able to sort of laugh at yourself, laugh at what's going on, and somehow that can sort of ease things up for you to make progress. Yeah, it's surprisingly important, is a sense of humour, actually. It can make the difference between moving forward or giving up.
So a little comment from Sancha as well. I'm starting to be lighter day to day, but now being much more aware of how much of my life I have been running away from myself.
Oh, yeah.
Becoming aware of the hindrances is uncomfortable.
Oh, it is, Sancha. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Absolutely, it is, yeah. And this is the way in which the body gives more honest testament to kind of to what's going on. We feel the discomfort of the hindrances. Most of the time when we're in prapancha, we don't notice that actually we're uncomfortable. We don't notice that we're uncomfortable because we're sort of whizzing this sort of, we're focused on this kind of this film in our head. And it distracts us from actually the physical experience that what's going on is kind of uncomfortable. It's quite uncomfortable. So it's really important to kind of tune up our awareness at this moment, because there will be some aspects of your experience that will ease with becoming more aware of what's going on in the body. There will be discomfort. Our tendency is to kind of, our awareness immediately preferences discomfort. We want to do something about it. So we'll kind of focus in on the discomfort. But actually, if you're becoming more aware of your experience, there will be an easing in your mind. This morning in my meditation, I was sitting with something quite uncomfortable. But because of that, I was able to, my mind was more integrated. I was less sort of distracted in thoughts. And just being with the breath was pleasant. So there was discomfort, but there was also something kind of pleasant. And it's really important that we notice that quite often quite subtle pleasure, because that reassures us that this isn't just going to be an unremittingly uncomfortable experience of ever more hindrances to become aware of. See what I mean? So really important to sort of notice any elements of sort of pleasant experience, even if it's just a sense of easing. Yeah, sometimes things do get so unpleasant that you need to just distract yourself momentarily to sort of manage it, and then you can come back to it later. But as we become aware of what the hindrances are, we can do something about it. So that initial discomfort can lead to really fruitful reflection. Often there's something in our lives we can do something about whatever it be, sort of anxiety, well, we can do more exercise. Yeah, I hope that gives you some sort of pointers. But I think that's great, Sancha, that you're becoming aware of that. Yeah.
And just one more from
Yeah.
Darren. Is integration hearing one voice, not scattered commentary?
Yeah. It's good. It's a good question, Darren. In a way, I didn't sort of really explain integration, did I? But it's that is part of it. Yeah. Though it depends on the one voice. It could be one voice kind of narrating our experience all the time. Actually, voices will quieten with integration. So that is an aspect of quieting, isn't it? Quietening, isn't it? That we've got less voices, we haven't got such a sort of mental chatter. So yeah, that's certainly a positive sign of integration. As you continue in meditation, you'll start to notice and identify the kind of habitual responses going on in the mind, sort of emotional responses of maybe a bit of irritation or anxiety or guilt or something like that. Worrying about what people think about you. You notice underneath the thoughts those kind of competing sort of currents. And that's a sign of integration as well, that you're noticing sort of disparate parts of yourself. You're starting to kind of get a broader sense of the disparate competing sort of responses within yourself. Then you can start to bring them or interest them in moving in one direction with you. So it's a process, is integration really. It's a process. We're probably come to the end of the class now. So very good to have you all here. Very good to share meditation night. Well done for coming and participating. And as you know, that's what our whole program is aiming to do. It sort of asks something of you, doesn't it? When you come to the Buddhist Center, it asks you to practice meditation. So all of our program is just kind of trying to support you to learn to work with your mind. So if you aren't aware of it, on Monday mornings, we lead a meditation. Samudra Ghosha, I think it's Samudra Ghosha, is going to put that in the chat box. The link for that in the chat box. That can just support you, set you up for the week. That way you've got two supports with Thursday night and Monday. On Tuesday, as I mentioned last week, we're exploring enlightenment. We're exploring the possibilities of where awareness can lead. So if you want to come along to that, then do. Yep. And the last thing I'll mention is the sort of the spirit in which we do these classes. They're all freely given, and we do that because that too supports meditation, supports us to work with our minds. Something that I've been focusing more in the last few years, because I always sort of I didn't tend to think of my Buddhist practice in terms of generosity. I was doing generosity, practicing generosity, but I didn't sort of tend to think of it in that sort of way. And again, it's a matter of integration, really knowing why we're acting generously means that it has a greater effect on us. That's one of the most important things about generosity. Actually, it is sort of love manifest. So it expands our mind. It moves our awareness out from just us. So So I noticed for me, I could have a tendency actually to give because I thought I wasn't generous. Well, if you do that, that's not really movement out from yourself. It's still about you wanting to be seen to be generous because you think you're not. And the experience I would have of that is kind of closing down. Well, with integration, you can start to become aware of that and then start to discover a purer motive, just giving out of love. Well, that is the spirit in which we give these classes. And also invite you to engage in the same spirit as an intrinsic part of the class, intrinsic part of kind of working with your mind. So becoming aware of why you're wanting to give, and giving just to give, just purely to give, giving out of love, I suppose, is one way of putting it. And seeing what effects that has. So that's the invitation. You're entirely free to do that or not do that. We don't expect anything from these classes. They're freely given, completely freely given. We want you to benefit. But I'm just explaining the kind of culture that we call the Dana culture, Dana meaning generosity. That's the culture of these classes. In fact, all of the Buddhism meditation that is taught or offered, given at the Buddhist Center. So I've gone over by 2 minutes. So yeah, very good to have you all here and look forward to seeing you next week. I think it's going to be Satchipara teaching the Metta Bhavana. Hope you all have a good week. YouTube.